So good morning, bonjour, buenos dias. Welcome to everyone that is joining us. We have close to 100 participants registered from over 20 countries around the world. Welcome. You are in for a treat. We have some amazing women that are going to share their stories and perspectives with us today. First and foremost, I would like to thank the IICA Canada branch for setting up this wonderful webinar and for their leadership on this conversation about gender equity and perspectives from both a rural and agricultural perspective. My name is Carrie Lee Burchell. I'm the director of the Canada Agriculture and Food Museum. You may wonder why I've been asked to co-moderate this session today. I'd like to share just a few images with you to hopefully explain my role and why I was so keen to participate. And where has my, hold on, there we go. So the Canada Agriculture and Food Museum is one of 3 national museums of science and innovation here in Canada. The Agriculture and Food Museum is a very unique experience. We think one of the only ones in the world where we are a combination of national caliber exhibitions. We're also a working farm with dairy operation and several hundred animals. We have live education and classes. And really what we're starting to do more and more is try to have these types of conversations virtually with audiences throughout Canada, but around the world, topics that have to do with food security, climate action, diversity and inclusion, and overall being a platform for social innovation and discussions. What I'd like to do is take a very brief moment to please acknowledge that the museum is located on the traditional and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. Both the staff and the visitors appreciate being able to work and learn in this environment. One of the reasons Jean-Charles Leveillé and I, my co-moderator today, have agreed to do this series was that we were having a conversation on how, as the museum and IICA, can work on sustainable development goals. These goals have been established by the United Nations in order to develop a sustainable global society when it comes to some of the key issues of our time. Ingenium, as there are 3 museums, Canada Agriculture and Food, Science and Technology, Aviation and Space, are looking at some of these key issues in order to determine how, as a society, we are transforming. For certainly, topics like food security go well beyond our own borders and our own domestic abilities to produce and process and consume, import and export food and other agricultural products. These are absolutely global topics. So I was very, very, very pleased to be asked to be part of this today. You'll see at the end of today's webinar that we were thrilled to open with IICA Canada the Soul of the Rurality in Latin America and the Caribbean photographic exhibition. That opened last March in time for International Women's Day. Because of COVID, we're pleased to announce that we have been able to extend the duration of that display. It will be with us through May 31st, 2021, so there is still time for people to visit. And I promise that you'll see a little more of that later. However, I did want to draw attention to 2 of the panels that are in this exhibition. And this is why the Canada Agriculture and Food Museum team have been so proud not only to feature the exhibition, but to have these types of conversations. This has to do with the importance of involving both genders, all aspects and backgrounds when it comes to agriculture for solutions, for the transformation and ongoing evolution of agriculture around the world. The fact that 52% of the female population is considered to be inactive, and yet they are responsible for 51% of our food production is mind-boggling. I'm going to stop here, as I know that it's not me that you've come to listen to, but our incredible speakers. So I will pass now the parole over to Jean-Charles Leveillé. I'm sure that, like me, he's been inspired by the fact that it's the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal of the month was gender equity for March 2021. By no mistake that we are launching this today during a day of action, and that we encourage everybody to think about what's shared today and perhaps how we can all keep contributing to the conversation up to and through the International Day of Rural Women in October. Thank you very much. Over to you, Jean-Charles.
Thank you. Excellent welcoming remarks. I think you also have an institutional video that we can play now.
Yes.
On the museum. Excellent video. Many thanks. So IICA Canada, we are very proud to have the museum as a partner, and also as a member of our Canadian Advisory Committee. So IICA Canada is one of 34 member countries. So we have representations across the Americas, and including Spain. We are quite old, 78 years old as IICA, and I think that it's an important moment for us, especially now with COVID. The continent in Latin America alone, we've lost 26 million jobs with COVID, and many of them were women. And so the impact was quite large in the sector. And in some places even further, including in the Caribbean, where the loss of tourism is very significant on the economies there. And so we want to use this conversation, as Carrie Lee says, to provide a platform, a window to share ideas, to learn from each other, to learn from perspectives of rural women who are living these situations in various parts of the continent. And so I'm really excited today to welcome you all to join us in this conversation. And I would like to also share a video from IICA, just so that for all of those who don't know IICA well, a bit of a refresher so you can get to know us better. Tenemos el video de...
Do we have the video, the IICA video?
Gracias.
La agricultura de nuestra América enfrenta un cambio de paradigma. El sector agropecuario está en plena transformación. Tiene un papel protagónico como garante del desarrollo económico y como impulsor de innovaciones y nuevas tecnologías. También como gran proveedor de soluciones a los problemas acuciantes de nuestro planeta, la inseguridad alimentaria y nutricional y las crisis poblacional, energética y ambiental. Nuestro hemisferio necesita una agricultura más productiva, inclusiva, resiliente, moderna y con gran participación de jóvenes y mujeres. El Instituto Interamericano de Cooperación para la Agricultura, IICA, trabaja para construir esa visión renovadora de la agricultura que alimente el hemisferio y el mundo, que genere oportunidades de desarrollo para los productores y los territorios rurales, Con el objetivo de cumplir con estos propósitos, el IICA promueve esa nueva visión a través de una plataforma hemisférica de gestión del conocimiento que transforma y prioriza la cooperación triangular y horizontal. Una hoja de ruta apoyada en 5 programas estratégicos guía el trabajo del IICA: bioeconomía y desarrollo productivo, cambio climático, recursos naturales y gestión de riesgos productivos, sanidad agropecuaria, inocuidad y calidad de los alimentos, desarrollo territorial y agricultura familiar, y comercio internacional e integración regional. Dos ejes son transversales a estos programas: género y juventud e innovación y tecnología. El IICA es un organismo de puertas abiertas que busca estrechar lazos con su comunidad y con las nuevas generaciones. Impulsa la creación del CIMAD, una fuerte propuesta educativa sobre las tecnologías que ya modernizan el agro. También construye la Plaza de la Agricultura de las Américas, un proyecto de interés público reconocido por el gobierno de Costa Rica. Cuenta con una casa rural, un espacio para el diálogo sobre la agricultura entre distintas generaciones, y alberga un Fab Lab especializado en la innovación tecnológica para reducir la brecha digital rural. Con 34 países miembros en las Américas, España como país asociado y 19 países observadores, el IICA, organismo del Sistema Interamericano Especializado fundado en 1942, tiene la misión de estimular, promover y apoyar los esfuerzos de los Estados miembros para su desarrollo agrícola y el bienestar rural, a través de la cooperación técnica de excelencia. Su máximo organismo de gobierno es la Junta Interamericana de Agricultura, conformada por los ministros encargados de Agricultura del hemisferio, quienes eligen al director general del IICA. El IICA ayuda a fortalecer la institucionalidad vinculada al agro, capacita, apoya en la formulación y la mejora de políticas públicas, desarrolla proyectos, comparte experiencias con los países y promueve la articulación de los actores del sector agrícola, incluyendo el diálogo público-privado. El IICA es una institución puente, vincula países, regiones y temas, trabaja con organismos internacionales y con la sociedad civil organizada. El IICA trabaja por el agro del futuro y por el futuro del agro. El IICA es la Casa de la Agricultura de las Américas.
Excellent. Great video. You saw our Director General and some staff and colleagues of mine in Costa Rica, where headquarters. The Director General could not join us today, but he's with me in welcoming you today's session and seminar. So sincere thanks to all of you for joining us. We also have some distinguished guests and several excellencies ambassadors are also in as part of the attendees on this call. I do have a bit of housekeeping, just about a minute, and then we'll get into the conversation. So you'll notice that there's a chat function at the bottom. Please feel free to add questions as we go along. We will get to that later in the webinar. There's also a language function, so you can switch between English, French, and Spanish. If you look at, there's a globe and the Zoom function below, and if you're going to ask a question in English, keep to English. Vous voulez parler en français, mettez français. En espagnol, fácil. That's quite simple. And so the language and the chat are the main two elements you need to worry about on Zoom for the next hour. We have 3 sessions. So we're going to have each of the panelists, of our 5 panelists, are going to speak and do a presentation and share their perspectives. And then the 3, 4, 5 of them will then exchange ideas, lessons learned, knowledge, best practices, anything that comes up as new ideas, innovations, experiences, stories. And then after that, we will have a session with you, the public. And all of us will get a chance to speak with them and ask questions as well. So we have 3 sessions, and we'll end with a note about the exhibit in Ottawa right now. So that's the layout. And our first speaker is from Colombia. Liliana Jimenez and I won't be introducing each of the speakers. I'll let them use a few seconds at the beginning and to introduce themselves, and then they can go on and share their presentations. Liliana, up to you. Over to you.
Bueno, muy buenos días. Pues
Good morning. Good morning. It's good to see everyone. We're so glad that you're all here with us today. I am Liliana Jimenez Molina. I am a farmer in the municipality of Nilo in the department of Cundinamarca, Colombia. I work with other families. We have put together an organization of small-scale producers, and what we grow is cocoa beans and cacao fruit. We produce organically. That is our philosophy of life and of work, and has been for 7 years now. We were approved by Agro, which and it's been an opportunity where we have faced many challenges and we have learned many lessons. I have a presentation I want to share with you.
Por favor, me confirman si ya la pueden ver.
Can you see it?
¿Sí? Ok, perfecto, gracias.
Good, thank you.
Bueno, nosotros, pues somos
our group is called Pro Aso Agro. We are an organization of small-scale producers, agroecological, in our municipality. We started working together. We were founded in 2013, July 6th, 2013, and we started off with a very special interest. We wanted to improve productivity and quality of cacao in our municipality, and also we wanted cacao to be a product that we could take to market and that would bring a positive impact on the environment organically, so that we could go out to the market with this product and reach consumers and provide them with a food product that would be good for them. And this has always been our approach. It's been our philosophy, our mission, and this is what keeps us going. There's something I need to talk about which was very important for our organization and for me, myself, as a woman, which was that for 5 years rather, Canada Development came alongside and worked with us in a project called Project Impact. There were many components, technical assistance, marketing assistance, but unquestionably, the most important part for us as women was that there was a cross-cutting issue, which was gender equity. So during all the time the project was in effect, we were able to get together and awaken a new understanding about the gender component. And we were able to understand how we as rural women, that we have rights, that we could participate more actively, that we could lead different parts of our organization. It made a real transformation in our families, not only in our organization Pro Aso Agro, but also for the other associations and cooperatives where we were able to take part over these 5 years of the Impact Project. This picture was taken at an event that brought together the whole, where we closed, it was the closing ceremony for this component, and men and women together were certified for having developed these skills so that we could continue spreading this knowledge to other women and other men in our rural areas. And this has been a very important part of what we've done, not only for Pro Aso Agro, but also more particularly for myself, Liliana Jimenez, a rural woman who was able to understand things differently and see many new things through this project. Something else that made it possible for us, not only in the project, but to understand where we were headed as families, as rural families, which was to understand that we needed to add value to our production. The first product that we started off that work with was this, chocolate. We developed our own brand, our own trademark. We set up a plant And it was the perfect opportunity to bring in women, get them involved in product processing, and also the young people, not only in product processing, but also in the marketing processes, sales. And the young people are the ones who are the one who have done that work. They took our trademark out to the local markets and have been opening up opportunities for us. Even during these times of pandemic, they are the ones who have kept going with this exercise. They are the ones who have pushed us to keep going, to keep growing with digital marketing, for example, which was hard for us, but they know how to do those things. These are the skills that they've been developing during their short lives, and so it made it much easier for us. And we've been able to make use of all of this knowledge that our young people have acquired, the sons and daughters of the Proaso Agro families. Something else very important has been to be able to work with women in other production projects. For example, we've worked with chicken farmers and also in the plant. We're trying to build partnerships and integrate with other organizations in our municipality, because we have realized that only if we work together and only if we set up projects together will we be able to attain the productivity we need, the food security we need, and for women developing in the agricultural sector. And all of this becomes a showcase for other people who want to come visit us, see what we're doing, see how we do our work. For all of the, there are two things we've done in this direction. It's been moving slowly because of the pandemic, but we have an agro-tourism project we're working on. That is a tourism that's much more aware. And another one is the very interesting partnership we've set up, because we want to have a single agro-industrial sector, it's a center in our municipality, which would bring in coffee, cacao, fruit trees, everything we produce in our municipality, bring together the three organizations that we have been working with in our production organization projects in the municipality of Nilo. So we've been doing this as we look toward the future. This is the direction we want to go. Thank you so much for your attention. Excellent. Thank you for that presentation. I would now invite Matilde Gomez from Costa Rica to talk to us about her project. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to talk about the work we rural women are doing in Costa Rica. If we want to narrow the gap, we need to change. We rural women are doing that. I'm going to project my presentation. My presentation is based on rural women and recovering seeds as a new claim on life. We're reclaiming life through seeds. Our network, the San Carlos network, started in 2005 in San Carlos, Alajuela, Costa Rica. This is a place that brings together rural women who are organized or who want to organize. We have come to understand that being alone, we would never get anywhere. Only by organizing together can we share knowledge. Can we manage more people? This is something where we have positioned ourselves as an organization, an organized women. Rural women are the caretakers of seeds and heritage, our legacy. We are the ones who lend visibility to different forms of knowledge that have been hidden and discredited. We understand seeds as an expression of life, and these are the sectors we focused on. And we always see men as the ones who promote agriculture, and you see it in our history, our literature, but women have started, and this is something that we women in San Carlos want to change. We're positioning ourselves in a much more proactive way. We want to come to an understanding that Seeds are the ultimate projection or expression of life. These tiny seeds, like the mustard seed, contain all of the genetic information necessary to give life, to give food, to maintain the safety and the food safety that the food security we always talk about. See, we also see seeds as an ancestral legacy, a heritage. Our grandparents, our indigenous forerunners. I remember that my mother had a pepper that she grew, and she always kept the seeds and for the next year. So there was a certain home economy because we didn't buy peppers, we grew them and we saved the seeds, and this, so the chain went on. And that was how we supported the family, with those peppers. And that's what we as rural women are promoting, our ancestral heritage. My great grandmother used to tell me that when a couple were married in a country marriage, the gifts they received, the gifts the wedding presents that people brought to them, were seeds of all different types, so that they could plant them and have food and reproduce them. What better gift could there be than to be able to contribute to nutrition and maintain food sovereignty? Our goal is to defend seeds, to promote seeds, and to position seeds. We have a project that we call uh, farms without padlocks. This means that we transmit from farm to farm. We talk to each other. We manage the entire farm using natural techniques. We submitted a project to the Ministry of Agriculture, and they supported us. And the idea was to put together a cookbook. We call it The Sanctuary of Seeds as the basis for for the rural diet, for rural cuisine. It has 50 recipes that were written and developed by rural women. And just to give you an example, masa morra in Costa Rica is a product. It's a dish based on corn. It's a cornmeal type of dish, and it's been lost. People aren't eating it anymore. So in this cookbook, we wanted to bring back all of those recipes that rural women still have and that they know so much about. And also, it's a project. Another project is based on rural agritourism. It's a tourist project, and the idea is to offer these recipes from the cookbook. When we have participation in the space, in the opportunities we're given, whenever we're invited to take part in anything, we always share. We like to be a showcase of experiences, both local, national, and international. We always think about experiences. All of this, the idea of all this is to take products or seeds of different kinds, from different types of plants, and offer the products that we grow on our farms. But most of all, is to transmit this sense of respect for the land and for the seeds. Something that makes us feel stronger, continues to strengthen us. It's our strongest suit, which is the market, the rural women autochthonous seed market. We've been doing it for a couple of years now. We've done it 12 times now. And we're the only ones who are doing this type of fair or showcase. It's been virtually for the past 2 years. Before it was on site. But what we do is we exchange seeds. Either through activities or when people come. So we exchange seeds with the people who come. We have a seed sanctuary. We so we don't. It's not just the sanctuary. We also have plants, plantlets. Um, so when we have this market, we take them out and we can show them as our products. This selection of seeds, we do that using very natural methods as well. We also focus on, and I think this is something that we can share as an experience that we've acquired, which is political advocacy. We promote our organization, and we've sent several declarations at the level of our canton to express the needs and concerns of rural women here in this part of the country. So political advocacy is very important if we as rural women want to be organized and we want to meet the goals that we have set, both in San Carlos and other rural areas. So we've acquired that experience here in Costa Rica. Interinstitutional coordination with the private sector and with civil society. and they support us in our market, in our fair activity. Something very important, thanks to political advocacy, the National Women's Bureau, INAMO, in Costa Rica, has also started supporting us very vigorously in these activities, and also the media, both the local and regional media. This is something else that has given us great strength in this market, which, as I said, that we've now been doing for 12 years. This is my contact information. Matilde Gomez Bolaños is my name. This is my email address, mati.gomezbo@gmail.com. And we're on Facebook as well as the Red Sancarleña de Mujeres Rurales. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you. I will now recognize
Canada. Terry
Canada.
Lynn,
Terry
please, over to
Lynn
you.
Brent, please go ahead.
Okay. Welcome everyone, and I'm happy to be here. Can you see my screen?
We can see you.
Oh, see me. Shoot. I forgot to share. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, so this video that I'm running is just kind of showing you a little bit about my life and what I do every day. I am a traditional seed keeper in my community on Six Nations Reserve. And I really want to thank all the other women that were presenting today, and just say how happy I am to see that agriculture and women are still happening. In Canada, we really, as Indigenous women, we really don't get a heck of a lot of support in terms of programming or anything like that. So anything we do is literally right out of our own pockets or things that we do. So it's good to see other Indigenous women around the world at least having some kind of supports that we need. Okay, so, Can you still see my program?
We can see your film, yes, your video.
All right, I'm going to continue with that. So what I do as a seed keeper is I teach traditional agriculture in my community, which is basically what the United Nations is calling climate smart agriculture, right? Using our own traditional knowledges, ecological knowledge to work the elements of the land, the earth, the wind, the fire, and the water, to learn how to keep these things in balance. I believe very strongly, I have my grandchildren with me all the time. I believe very strongly in maintaining the female balance within our society, making sure that the knowledge is passed to the next generation, making sure that we allow space for them, because I don't care where you are around the world, children are very much a part of the lives of women. So we have to keep that conscious in our mindset so that we know that the kids are always taken care of. In a traditional Haudenosaunee society, okay, females and males have very specific roles traditionally. Okay, women are basically in charge of agriculture. They are the head corn matrons. They are the ones who actually do the planting of the seeds. They lead the ceremonies at this time of year. They create and sing the traditional seed songs that are used for the planting times, for the ceremonial times. So all that kind of seed stuff. And the reason for that in the ceremonial calendar or in our lifestyle is because seeds are female and they are life-giving. So that's why the women are the ones that are generally in charge of it. The roles of the males at this time are some of the bigger jobs where they get the field ready, they kind of tend to irrigation, right? Those kinds of things. So that has been our traditional agricultural society for a long, long time. And one of the things is literally since time immemorial, our agriculture has not changed. The way those four elements, the earth, the wind, the fire, and the water, they haven't changed. Earth has not changed. What has changed is how we treat them. So our traditional society had a very strict and very easy way to make sure that we maintain balance. What has happened though is that the modern agriculture, the commercial agriculture has really end up creating kind of what you would say almost earth destroying methods, okay? Causing lots of irrigation problems, compacted soil, dead soil zones, all these things. So even the seeds themselves aren't seeds anymore. They don't even know how to grow properly the way that the creator intended them. So this imbalance has really created a problem for us. And for us in our traditional societies, it is in direct contrast with the way we do things. In terms of revitalization, we really need to stop the practices of colonization. We really need to stop systemic racism. We have to encourage fair wages, not only for the people, because you're wanting women to get into agriculture, but you can't expect them to do it for slave labor, right? We have to get a fair price for our products that we sell. We need to learn how to make space for traditional knowledge and use that. And we have to make space for traditional foods. We are slowly introducing the Western societies to some of our foods, and they're enjoying them. They're liking them. They're calling them superfoods, things like that. So we have to look at opening international indigenous trade for small rural farmers and collectives and things, something that is really difficult. I tried to get some cocoa up here from my friends in Belize, rural farmers in Belize, and we were unable to do that. They just weren't able to ship it. So somebody has to look at our international trade. And just for like my final words, that as human beings, we are given responsibilities from our creator when we are born. And we believe that our responsibilities of ceremony, and if we don't do these ceremonies, then we don't keep the earth alive. If we don't maintain that balance, if we don't do what we were instructions that we were originally given. So our culture and our ways and our foods, they will survive. Okay. If it's time for the world to pay attention to these things. I'm trying to turn my alarm off. Okay. Time for the world to pay attention to these things, for not our sake, but mostly for your sake as well. Okay, we have to stop killing things. We have to embrace the different ways of doing. It's healthier for everyone. By learning traditional methods, foods, seeds, then we have more of an opportunity to change the path going forward. And also to change the premise that indigenous women can be in charge of something, or women can be in charge of something, because in a very male-dominated world out there, they sometimes forget that. So, Nyawagoa.
Fantastic, Terry Lynn. Many thanks. Strong messaging. Much appreciated. We are now going over back to the South, the Dominican Republic. Luz Para, over to you.
No, espérate, tengo que presentarlo primero. Donde yo lo vea. Buenos días.
Hello, good morning.
No, micrófono. Muy bien.
Ya. Buenos días. Mi nombre
Good
es
morning.
Soy la presidenta.
My name is Luz Melesia Parra, and I am from Dominican Republic. I'm from the El Chocal. First, I want to thank IICA Canada and the Agriculture and Food Museum of Canada for giving us the opportunity to be here. It's an honor to be here to talk about the Dominican Republic in this virtual activity.
Chocal, chocolate de la cuenca de Altamira, desde República.
Chocal, chocolate from the municipality of Altamira, Dominican Republic. Here you can see the different cacao plantations that you can see. From the time we plant it to the time we produce it, we harvest it in the nursery. And our final product on sale at the market with support from the USAID. That's what that was what led to Chocal, which is the chocolate from the Altamira watershed. The women in the project were homemakers. We were raising our families and working in the home, but we could see that our cacao was being sold raw. It's the source of our life. So we said, what can we do? So then USAID came along, and they provided us with there was a grant so that we could start the Chocal project. So we learned not just about traditional fertilizer, which we use, but USAID also brought a Swiss chocolate expert, Eric Rosley, and also they brought someone else, and Ismelda. They brought these 3 chocolate makers from different countries to help us learn what to do with chocolate, how to do chocolate, and they taught us how to develop our own formula. And so we learned from all 3 of them. They taught us, and after that, we said we're going to make our own chocolate. We said. So we had these 3 masters, chocolate masters, and they helped make Chocal something that was unique. The women received instruction on turning cocoa beans into chocolate with a taste that would stimulate the taste buds and make you want more. Cacao is a traditional product in Altamira, but the producers simply sold everything to exporters. Everything was sold to exporters because the communities did not know how to process this wonderful bean. So thinking about developing a chocolate plant was what worked with AID. They trained the producers, and we set up a fermentation center for our cacao so that we could continue and give added value to our cacao from our community. So that we produced our cocoa beans, and we also were able to transform them into a final product, as you can see here. At the beginning, the sound feed is cutting up. The interpreter apologizes. We can't hear what she's saying. We learned to cook the cocoa in a large pot and produce high quality chocolate. So the USAID came with the project, and they brought equipment, machinery, an oven, and also so we could have a more uniform roasting process at a single stable temperature, and so all the beans would have the same color. AID trained the women of Chocal in the process of making chocolate. We were doing it at a very primitive level, so we learned how to do it more professionally. Sometimes we added, in fact, we added corn and other products to the chocolate, but we learned how to make a more creamy product. The corn and the oats provided other tastes. Here you can see today it's AID that's been helping us with the product, and so AID was like our mother. Then they took us to Puerto Plata for training at the National Center, with a center for also the IICA agriculture project, which worked hand in hand with 2 projects. We are daughters of IICA, if you will, and of AID through the Canada office, and also in the Dominican Republic, and also the American Embassy, the German Embassy. We also received support from them, and in the Dominican Republic, and also the Embassy of Canada in the Dominican Republic. All of these helped introduce our products, Chocal's products, on the Canadian market. In 2019, we had a visit. We went there, and we were very well received, and our product was too. Chocal products are now being sold in supermarket chains in the Dominican Republic. So again, this is our presentation in the grocery store and also at the chocolate fair. You can also see here there was a fair in Santo Domingo where to promote some of our products and make them better known. Here also you can see I want to talk now about how we process our chocolate. Here you can see where we're playing with the chocolate. Why do I call it playing? Because chocolate is a wonderful product. It's beautiful. You can play with it. You can you can make it into different shapes and figures. We have people here from CCN who are supporting us. And here you can see where also we're doing a demonstration for people who are who go to Chocal. And these are the molds. There's a way to put the molds of the chocolate into the molds. Same thing here. You can see how we're working. Here they are filling the molds. The people you see there came to visit us. And they can pick whatever mold they want, whatever shape they want, so they can take their own chocolate. They can make it themselves and then take it home. So that's the activity that we offer. Here you can see we're with some. Here's Imelda. There is one of my partners. This is a woman who was brought by CCN for some of the training for the women in Chocal. So here you can see them. Here they're doing quality selection, quality screening. One more minute. Here you have the chocolate boards. It's delicious. This is one of the products that we promote.
No sé si me están mirando.
Can you see it? Can you hear me? No, you can't see it.
Segundito.
Sí se ve adelante.
Ok. Si no
Pueden
se ve,
seguir
está
con
bien.
su
Continuamos.
presentación y
Go ahead with
tenemos-
your presentation. Go ahead and tell us about it, even though we can't move to the next page. This is part of the team, the Chocal team. We love what we do. You can see how happy they are. The success of this group of women is based on two factors: teamwork and continuous training. All of this has led to as a result of which we're a model micro enterprise for women entrepreneurs. These women are an example for the entire community. They're paid for the work they do in the processing plant, and also they are responsible for production. And as co-owners, they receive benefits, the payments for based on the outcome of the business. So they've moved from being homemakers or cleaning personnel to become actual owners of their own company. And from their various positions, they contribute to the family income, and they inject new energy into their community economy. Here you can see part of the team who are there with their cups and their bags that say Chocal. Here they are as well. These are the older women that we have on the team. We have women up to 89 years of age working in the plant, and they are producers they produce their own cocoa beans and they process chocolates. We're very proud of them. These are some of the projects we've worked on with IICA. We feel that it's been a great privilege to have been used by IICA Canada as a case study. They carried out a project in 2016 to 17 to expand opportunities for cocoa producers so that they can increase their income by adding value through processing. The project was called Opportunity for Added Value for Cocoa Producers, for small-scale cocoa producers. In 2016, we were excited to receive a mission from Peru. They came to visit us in our plant in Chocal to develop a pilot business plan tailored to our needs, with encouraging the Peruvian producers to manufacture their own chocolate. So not just produce the cocoa beans, but also process it the way we do here in the way we do in Chocal. This is a picture of the visit from the people in Peru. It was a wonderful visit, very encouraging. In 2017, Noemi Crisotomo from Chocal went to Peru herself to exchange experiences and good practices with them.
confiado
And we
en que este proyecto del ICA
felt confident that this project from IICA Canada had positioned us
como líder
as leaders of the sector
en nuestra
in our community.
Nos sentimos muy orgullosas
We were very proud of that we were in a position because we received special mention and we were able to express our gratitude to IICA Canada and to the Canadian Embassy, who have supported me unconditionally for over 2 years now. In 2019, as I said, I took part in an event in Canada and was very well received there. I also introduced Noemi Cruzotomo on her visit to Peru.
Aquí está Noemí
Le tengo que parar porque
I have to stop you because we need time for the panel discussion among all the panelists and with the public. And so I'm sorry, but your time is up. Can I show you a video? And then I'll stop. All right, go ahead.
Ahí están.
There it is. I'm going to run the video.
Páralo. Gracias. Muchas gracias.
Thank
Espero
you.
que les haya gustado.
I hope you enjoyed this presentation from the Dominican Republic.
Excelente presentación.
Wonderful presentation. Thank you so much. And the products look delicious.
I'm going to switch over to English. And really fantastic. We haven't had a chance to communicate with our speaker from Guatemala. She's had for the last few hours internet challenges, so she won't be with us today. So she's sending her regrets. Apologies, she won't be able to participate. We can get into the panelist discussion for the next, I would say, 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. We want to keep in the next half hour. We want to close by 12:25 Ottawa time. So I would like to invite all 4 speakers and panelists to exchange ideas, ask questions, learn from each other. And Carrie Lee from the museum and myself, we can chip in from time to time. Anyone want to speak first? Just raise your hand. It's easier that way, and turn your mic off.
Yo no estoy en cámara.
Sí, Matilde, por favor.
Sí, bueno, contarles que tengo una gran barra de compañeros.
I have my whole cheering squad here with me. We have other activities going on. If you heard some applause when I finished my presentation, that's my team. We're all together. We wanted to show them to you because it's with support of the Institute, because so they can see the work so you can all see the work that we're doing, and everyone can be more informed. So the applause you were hearing, that was what it was for. Like I say, I have my whole cheering squad here on hand. I just wanted you to know that for us, for those of us who are working out in the fields, this is a wonderful opportunity. We can make ourselves known through IICA. I had the opportunity to represent the sector on International Rural Women's Day that IICA Costa Rica held. And also we had the opportunity to talk about what we were doing. So I just wanted to emphasize that it's only if we organize that we will be able to get ahead, that we will be able to protect our seeds and empower women and families. I would also like to explain that our Rural Women's Fair that we held, we had a lot of children taking part. We had activities. We set up committees, and there's a committee that organized games and activities for the children, so that we can sow that seed, the seed of this Rural Women's Fair. The children know where nowadays children drink milk out of a box, a carton, and they don't know where it comes from. They know what a tortilla tastes like, but they don't know what farmers do to grow the corn, to be out in the hot sun. They spend half their lives working in the fields. Maybe they don't make very good money, but the rural sectors feed many people, and so we need to emphasize this and make it visible. Even the institutions and society itself need to have a better picture of all this. My panelists are all smiling and nodding their heads. I think what you said was well received. Liliana, Luz Melesia, listening to Matilde and Luz and Terry Lynn, I have to say, all of this reaffirms something that I think is very important, which is how, at the end of the day, we can truly create these exchanges of experiences. I hear what Luz has to say. She works in cacao just as we do, and we have so much in common. It's also interesting. And I'm always thinking, what can we do to be more connected? How can we share experiences with each other? Because I am convinced of what Matilda herself was saying. When we get together, when we share, these are positive lessons that we all learn. But also we need to share the things that have not gone so well, because so that we can draw on that. Together we can be better. I was listening to Terry Lynn, and I have to say I identify with what you're saying. You're in Canada, but you're hearing from us here in Latin America, and we have received great support from international cooperation and from Canada. But I can see that you have done a titanic job in Canada as a rural woman, as a farmer, using your own resources. I would like to ask you, how do you keep going? How do you keep up your enthusiasm and not become disheartened in the midst of everything that's happening in the rural world?
Yes,
Please,
it is difficult to sometimes keep motivation and stuff. But the thing with me is being deeply vested within my culture and my ceremonial cycle, because everything we do, the Haudenosaunee people, my people, have an annual calendar. It's like every month you have a different month or a holiday. Every few months we have a different moon cycle, and so we have a ceremony each month. Like right now we are just finishing maple syrup, right? And that gives us a whole series where we do a ceremony to open the trees, we do a ceremony to close the trees. So that's really important to us. So by keeping in step with who I am allows me to go on. It gives me that drive and that motivation to make sure that that knowledge is passed on to my grandchildren, to the next generation. Okay, making sure that they can learn how to grow their own food, build their own shelter, get their own water, know their language, their customs, their culture by the time they're about 8 or 9 years old, not when they're 40 or 50, like in the normal culture. Okay, people today walk around in Canada, haven't got a clue how to grow beans, and they're 50 years old. You know, my grandchildren can do that by the time they're 7 or 8 years old. They got the gist of what's going on. So that was important in our culture. I'm trying to keep that moving forward, because I truly believe without being invested in our culture, without continuing the indigenous practices of maintaining the earth's balance, then none of us will exist. And that's what we're starting to see in terms of climate change and all the devastation that's happening around the world. If we continue on that path of destruction, we all will suffer. So I really need my grandchildren to move forward with that. And I do thank you, and I do think it's correct. I would love to see more. I have been fortunate enough to visit several farms, places like Colombia, Belize, all through Mexico and places like that. So I think that has to happen a little bit more in terms of not just visit the farm, but visit the culture of the farm. Because me learning about your culture, and sometimes I've gone to places that are rural and way back in the jungle and things like that, and they have even been colonized there to think that their traditional way of doing things is not welcome. It's not, I have been in communities where they had some of their elders do their very first planting ceremonies, right? Because they thought they shouldn't say that or do that. So that's the thing that needs to be revitalized, I think, around the world. And it's women who are going to do it, because we all know women feed the world. So yeah.
Excellent remarks, Terry-Lynn. Many thanks.
Terry-Lynn, dijiste una frase que a mí me impactó mucho.
Terry-Lynn, something you said that hit hard, that very much impressed me. I want to emphasize it because when we talk a little bit about gender equity and opportunities, sometimes I feel like women have lost sight of the essence of a woman. You talk about the seed and life as part of being a woman, and that thought meant a lot to me. It made a deep impression on me, and I think what I'm learning from you today is that lesson, and also the whole matter of recovering the ceremonies, reestablishing the ceremonies, because part of what has happened is that we have lost connection with all those rituals involved in agriculture and life in the country. Thank you, Terry-Lynn. I would like to contribute to, in the case of Chocal, we are a group of women. And as I explained, it's women. We have women up to the age of 89. I'm the youngest person in the whole group, by the way. We have focused on the children, the grandchildren of these women. We've tried to teach them. We call them chocalitos, little chocales, chocal kids. We encourage them to understand that these women are giving added value to our products. And so we have shown them to add value to their mother's products. Because we've instilled in them the idea that the project needs to go on. If the women, the women who are in it sooner or later won't be there anymore, so our children need to be there and be ready to take over.
We have a couple questions from the audience too, and I know Carrie Lee had a question for you. Maybe we can start with Carrie Lee's question.
Thank you, Jean-Charles. And I just would, again, like to thank all of our speakers today, that the idea of having this webinar be a very open format so that everyone was free to share their stories and experience and perspectives has led to a much richer conversation by being a platform for those stories, hopefully exposing. I liked very much what Terry-Lynn was saying about embracing different ways of knowing, and we can really only grow and make sure from an environmental perspective that we're taking that into consideration when we do hear both traditional and other contemporary ways of growing our food and all of the products that are about our quality of life. So my question was following up on one of the concepts that I've heard, and Liliana brought it up, Terry-Lynn's brought it up, Matilda and Luz. Several of you have spoken about seeds as an expression of life and growth. I'd like to extend this thought of growth to lifelong learning. How do you see your knowledge and accomplishments in agriculture adding to the growth and sustenance for your culture?
Liliana?
Bueno, nosotros, o sea, pienso que
I think that there's a very interesting thought here.
digamos, responsabilidad que tenemos
The responsibility that we as women have,
de alguna forma
because in some sense,
enfocadas
we focus
en la
on
educación, en la
education
y a
raising children, training them. And as we transmit knowledge, as we teach, we ourselves are the first ones that need to start making changes in the way we think, in the way we project ourselves, in the way we see things, so that we can understand what it is we are contributing in this culture and in this growth, and even in the rural world. As I was listening, it made me think when I saw the video from the museum in Canada and the work that IICA has been doing as well. I was thinking about how we as women can really create development, future growth through the rural work that we do, so that the coming generations, the ones who are just now being raised up, they can value the countryside, food production, food security, and understand that climate change is real. It's affecting all of us and very powerfully. So we as women, as we learn and as we grow personally, also in terms of development of competencies and skills, that we are contributing to generate and create new models, new ways of thinking, from our own minds, from our own hearts, because you're talking here about life plans for these future generations.
Matilde.
Sí, yo sí quiero reafirmar que
Yes, I would like to reaffirm that we need to be aware that we don't have a magic wand. Just because we're women, we don't have a magic wand to fix everything, to solve all the problems that come from the big companies, because rural life is heavily bombarded by all these big crops and the big companies that come sweeping in and position themselves on the land. In Costa Rica, we have it. For example, the big companies where small farmers sell their land to these big companies because they need to eat, because they need to get ahead, and instead they end up poorer. They become more and more poorer and poorer. So yes, I love this, but also we need to be aware that we do not have a magic wand. We as women, we can't fix everything. We are opening the way. We're opening we're breaking through, but others need to come alongside. We also need to understand that we are very diverse, and this diversity is something we need to accept just as it is. We as an organization, right? We have one objective, but other people come in, they have a different way of thinking, and it's not so simple sometimes to hammer these things out. And we need to face that. We need to try to raise awareness of everyone, of all the women, so that they can join the work of rural women. It's not impossible, but it takes work. And it all comes from leadership. It starts with leadership, so that we can get ahead, so that we can strengthen the whole process that IICA is working on through rural life, at least here in Costa Rica. Thank you, Matilda. Terry Lynn has a comment. Go ahead.
Yes, I think you were originally talking about something about seeds, life, and how they affect us. I just need to say that, first of all, as I said, in our Haudenosaunee culture, we're very specific. We have male roles and we have female roles. As we work through a modern society, we get to understand, and unfortunately have come to conclude, traditional agriculture is female. Modern agriculture is male. And I don't know how else to, in my own little brain, how to say that in any other way. But when women basically drop the ball and let the men go off to the field and just do whatever the heck they want, men will do what men are inherently born to do, which is to tinker and to mechanize and to work on things. But we sat back. Our role was supposed to be to work in partnership with those men, even if they're out in the field working for us. If they're out in the fields working for us, then we are supposed to keep an eye on what the heck they're doing. Because our role is to make sure that we're feeding with our good seeds our families. That's what we are worried about. That's what concerns us. Not making $1 million. That's not what concerns me. I don't care what anybody says. I only want to make sure that I have good food to eat, that my neighbor's children have good food to eat, that we all live in a good environment. So when we as females dropped the ball and didn't pay attention to what the male modern mechanized economy of commercial agriculture, it's just gone wild. So now we're stepping back and we're looking in again, you know, and we must watch with good eyes, because now the big thing is to use technology in agriculture. I saw a guy on his tractor playing on his cell phone. His tractor was driven by a satellite. So literally it didn't need him. It was like a robot spraying, great big, huge, you know what I mean? This is the future of agriculture. What they're telling us in future farming writings is the future crop will be soybeans. That's it. And then I sit there and say, no, that can't be right. And yet I look in a grocery store, almost everything we eat has soybeans in it. So how can we ever conclude that we're going to have a society that's going to leave all those traditional seeds, those beautiful, diverse foods that we have come to know in our culture, honor and use? How are we going to leave them behind? We can't, to have a healthy environment. So we have to continue this partnership. And women sometimes have got to get a little bit vocal and start to tell their men, no, you're not doing that. Sometimes women are going to have to say, yes, we understand the modern, we understand the old, but we're not necessarily going to take it all. So thank you.
Terry Lynn, I think that's a perfect segue to a question from Sylvia Sarapura, who is saying that she's understanding from all of your presentations that you're promoting not only innovation, not meaning only technological innovation, but also social, organizational, and institutional innovation. And Sylvia is asking to Liliana and the rest, how sustainable are these innovations, and is there a need or a different role for policies to support those innovations? So taking it beyond the talk and turning that to policy.
Terry Lynn, go ahead.
For our people, we've had a social structure. It's called the clan family since time immemorial. I don't think that's ever going to die, right? Our social network that we have created through our system of our own clans, our own culture, is going to move forward, and we keep it going ourselves. So just because they're doing something else someplace across the road, our way of culture and doing things, and many indigenous people around the world have these structures inherent. We just have to let them, allow them to stop the systemic racism that allows them to have space in any structure that is out there.
Thank you.
Liliana?
Bueno, eso es una pregunta,
This
pues
is a
bastante.
question that is, it could lead to long conversations. It's a big question. What the way I see things, changes are needed. Yes, changes in policy, changes in structures. We need to talk more with the communities, the rural communities. And this whole question of innovation also needs to go hand in hand with social innovation. We need to find more solutions from the communities, based in the communities. And Terry Lynn has made me think that here where I am, in Nilo, Cundinamarca, Colombia, we have pulled out a lot of our roots, our ancestral roots. We no longer have indigenous cultures here. And we've been losing that, and we've lost our roots, and we're losing them more and more as time goes by. So we need to understand where we came from. That's a very important point. In order to reroot, to put down new roots and develop projects that will, in fact, carry us forward using innovation, sometimes including technology, but we cannot simply overlook sustainable development. Carolyn was saying it at the beginning when she showed us the sustainable, the SDGs. We can't do everything, but we can't forget where we're headed. So there needs to be a change in the paradigms of production and sustainability. And those of us who are still out there, as Terry Lynn said, those of us who are still working on our little square meter of land in order to maintain and guarantee the environmental conditions, the social conditions, the productivity conditions that are also environmentally friendly. Unquestionably, we need to find more partners who are thinking along the same lines, because very often it takes, sometimes our energy and strength is more than our skill. So we need to reinvent, we need to keep learning. And I think we need to listen more and more all the time, and engage in much more dialogue with rural communities and understand what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what solutions we can build from each different territory, because as we've seen before, we are so diverse. If you look at the entire planet, we are so diverse.
Carrie Lee, if I may.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sí, entonces nos quedan como 4 minutos para la conversación.
We have about 4 more minutes for this conversation, and I have 2 questions, one from Mexico, one from Quebec, Canada. I'm going to read both of them very quickly, and I will let the group decide who will answer. What were the main strengths and negative experiences you had at the beginning of your project? What would you suggest to other women who are just starting projects? And the second question is, as we all know, climate change is posing more and more challenges for the development of agriculture and agro-food activities. How are your organizations adapting to these changes, and how can we change these solutions on adaptation with other groups to guarantee a good and interesting future for young people?
Liliana?
Bueno, a mí me gustaría también mucho
I would like to hear from Luz, because she is also working in an organization. Those of us who have organizations, for us, the first difficulty is to all agree on a single vision. So we're all moving in the same direction. For setting our objectives. Along the way, we find many families that don't identify with our philosophy, with our principles. And for me, this has been the greatest difficulty. We promote the idea of organic farming, but not all families want to do that. The diversity of thinking, bringing everyone together, we don't all need to think the same about everything, but at least try to find a path that we can follow together. And for us, that has been the biggest challenge. Luz and then Terry Lynn. For us, it was a little difficult because at the beginning of Chocal, we had to share with different people that we didn't know. That's difficult. The institutions that were supporting us, for example, we were able to all start moving in the same direction. The sound is cutting up. It was difficult. Can you hear me? Sort of, but yes, taking off your videos will help. That's good. Yes, I can hear you better. Please go ahead.
¿Ya me escuchan?
Can you hear me now? Yes. In that sense, to be able to produce on the farm and be able to market, all of us market similar products, and also at the same time to be able to continue, as some people have said, it's difficult, but we've been able to do it. It's been 13 years now, and we've survived, and we're still moving forward. So that So we think that we're a pretty good example that others could follow. It's not easy. In the training, when we had to travel to different communities to learn from other groups, yeah, you learn within your. So you have to leave your family and go to a community where you don't know anybody and stay there for a few weeks, and to try to reproduce what you've already learned. That was hard. That was hard, but it was also very encouraging. It was very exciting. So that helped us to grow and to move ahead. Terry Lynn?
Okay, so in terms of strengths and negative experiences or whatever, I guess the first thing is when I first started, I was growing food for my family and then my daughter's family. So we are growing food for 5 families, right? That's the norm. And then I wanted to be able to step into growing enough. We have specific foods that when we do specific ceremonies or eat for specific reasons that we need. You can't buy them in a grocery store. You can't even buy them. You have to grow them yourself, or you have to find a grower. So in wanting to do that, I had to be able to, I was approached by so many community members. Do you have such and such a seed, or where can I get it? So wanting to go from just helping our 5 family here, I wanted to go to helping all the families in our longhouses, which are about 30 to 40 families. So by just trying to increase various types of seeds meant that I needed more family. I needed more people to help me do that. So one of the things that I found very quickly was the idea of volunteers, people coming out. And a lot of those people were the people from the city, our indigenous people who had moved back to the city and they were living there, working there, but they wanted to come back home to experience or have their children experience some of that collective work. So I think that was some of the strengths that I found is using those people from the city to help us. Another thing was time management is your biggest challenge. Literally sit down. I have many journals full that follow our seed catalog, seed ceremonies and things like that. I have many times where I go and I have to time things out and say, this is what I'm trying to accomplish. If you don't give yourself any kind of time management plan, you really can suffer, a whole season will go by and then it's something you'll look at and you'll never have gotten to it. So that's really, really important. In terms of climate change, I haven't really had a problem or issue with climate change, although it does affect us. And the reason for that is because I grow our traditional seeds. And our traditional seeds have a inherent built-in innate quality to be able to adapt to climate because we keep planting them in the same ground in the same place for literally eons, right? And so they are slowly starting to adapt with the climate. So but I do try as much. I keep up on all the climate change type things. I'm always reading, I'm always learning. I think that's really important. Get a good book, always trying to learn from what other people. That's again why I think those international farm visits for indigenous people, rural people are so important, because sometimes you can't get it from a book. You got to see how they're doing it and see their passion and their spirit and the words that they put into the ground when they're working with that. So that's kind of a lot of the things. And I really make sure that I plant with the land, not on the land, right? I really look at what I'm doing and how it's going to fit. Look at the elements of the land and how they work together to be able to get a good crop and to help revitalize what's there. The more that we work with our land, the more the traditional foods that our ancestors ate naturally come back, because the majority of my food in my ancestral times, half of my diet comes from that bush. I just have to go gather it. I didn't actually have to plant it. There was very few things. And I do want to address that thing. Somebody had mentioned the 3 sisters. In our traditional culture, we don't have that word 3 sisters. We call it Jinhekwa, which means our life sustainers. I know you guys have that milpa. So if people think of only what they call the 3 sisters, I call that Hollywood, because in that planting, there's 11 or 15 different plants. If you only focus on the 3 that you're eating, you forget all the responsibilities and roles about all the other ones that are there. So be really careful when you use that term, 3 sisters garden. Don't use it. It's a 3 sister system, because there's many more. And if you want to be, for us, we should be talking about 5 or 6 sisters, because there's a lot of things. And then that 10 or 11 plants that support them with nutrients, pest things, you know, all of these things work together. So, yeah.
Well, I'm going to thank all of you, the 5 sisters, I'm going to call you, with Carrie Lee. We have a few minutes left. I know we have more questions, and we're getting a lot of chatter, and there's Q&A. It's a good sign that this conversation is very intriguing and insightful and engaging. And I wish we could, but we can't. We have to close the room at 12:30. That gives us 3-4 minutes left. And I know Carol Lee wanted to mention the exhibit in Ottawa. So a sincere thanks from my end, at least, to all the panelists, to all of you attending today. It's been a wonderful set of presentations. I've enjoyed this discussion. I'm sorry we don't have more time, but over to you. Thanks again to the museum for your support. Carrie Lee.
Thank you, Jean-Charles. I will just take a brief moment to thank all of the speakers for their stories, their honesty today, their trust, but most of all, their passion for the topic, and for being leaders in the conversation, really inspiring me and I'm sure others to follow up. And I have some ideas with the International Agriculture Museum Association that I'm involved with. Perhaps I'll reach out and see if we can share some of these stories there as well. I'd like to thank IICA and IICA Canada for setting up this webinar today. I think we've all benefited from the collegiality and the sharing of knowledge. And I'd like to say also thank you to the technical support, and especially the translators. They were doing an excellent job. So with that, perhaps I think I should turn it back over. There's a quick video that just captures some images from throughout the Americas with women doing what they do best, which is taking care of their culture, taking care of their families, growing and agriculture, and some of the work that maybe perhaps is all too often invisible. So we'll turn it over to the video. This was put together with IICA and with Vogue Brazil. They did a wonderful photo shoot with women from across the Americas. So we'll leave it on that positive note. And so with that, I appreciate all the women that had taken the time to work with that photographer in their selection of background and what they were wearing and what they wanted to portray as not being invisible, as being very, very visible and being proud of their role in their community. So I think with that, we will say gracias, merci beaucoup à vous tous. Thank you again to Jean-Charles, and I'll leave the last word to you.
Oh, merci à vous, au contraire. It's been a wonderful experience, and I feel blessed to spend time with you, and I've learned a tremendous amount of things, and I'm inspired. And please stay safe, everybody. We're not over with COVID, and I know we had questions on COVID. There's lots more we could discuss, but maybe that's a suggestion for another webinar. Sincere thanks. Take care. I wish you much success with your businesses and your causes, and we're happy there as IICA to support you as best we can in the Americas. Take care, everybody.
Mm-hmm.